Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the League of Women Voters of the Palatine, Barrington, and Schaumburg areas Unite and Rise Day of Action on poll watching. Whether you are an LWV member, a member of another organization, or an individual interested in government, we are pleased to have you here this morning to hear about poll watching. I'm Cammie Bassick, Director of Special Events for our league. In the room, we also have some other board members that I'd like to introduce to you. You see Marilyn McCarty Fulton, Director of Membership at the back, who greeted you and supports old and new members. Melissa Hutchinson, can you stand? There we go. Director of Voter Services, who has developed the Vote 411 guide for our area, an invaluable tool for voters. Kathy Wilson, Treasurer, who plays a vital role in maintaining our financial records. Samantha Horia, Secretary, who ensures all our board actions are documented, assisting our board in moving forward with our program priorities. Barb Mazursky, Director of Fundraising, and I always say not fund, yes, fundraising and friend-raising, I also say, who raises funds so that we can have events such as this and who always makes sure we have fun in the process. Anna Klimkowitz is Director of Events, who is responsible for our renowned Civic Awareness Series that hopefully some of you have had an opportunity to attend, that we do in partnership with the Schaumburg Library. We have two more. You're looking, Marilyn, for somebody. Chris, and I hope I didn't miss anybody. Finally, Chris Jesse, right here. Kathy Cleva, right there, who guide all of our committees towards success in both advocacy and education. Did I say you are co-presidents? No, there are co-presidents. Sorry. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan grassroots political organization. The core mission of the League is to empower voters and defend democracy. We are nonpartisan in that we neither support candidates or political parties. However, we do take policy positions on key public issues. Membership in the League is open to anyone, regardless of gender, race, or ethnic group, who is interested in learning about government. Our particular league supports those living in Palatine, Inverness, the Barrington area, Schaumburg, Hoffman Estates, and Rolling Meadows. If you live elsewhere, you are free to join our league or any league of your choosing. First, a bit of housekeeping. You should have two different handouts in front of you, one entitled Poll Watcher Guidelines, and the other one entitled Poll Watchers. Please feel free to come back and get more at the breakfast table. Don't be shy for a second helping. There's plenty of food there. Next, bathrooms and drinking fountain are down this hall as you exit to the left, and then at the end of the hall, you turn right and you'll see a drinking fountain and the bathrooms. As to our agenda today. Oh, I'm up on the screen. Should we put up? We will begin our day of action with a presentation by Gail Weisberg on the topic of poll watching, an integral part of maintaining safe and fair elections. Next, for those of you who are league members and want to be credentialed by our league to poll watch on election day, you will fill out a form that I will send. I have sent requests to both Cook County and Lake County to send us the credentials, and then I will meet with you. Once I receive that information, we'll set up a meeting place where I can give you your credential forms. They're not available today because they're still putting together the different polls. The last part of our day of action is devoted to writing postcards to our legislators regarding issues for which the League has taken a strong stand. And that back there will be our postcard writing center. Finally, we'll end with a few closing remarks from me. So now to our speaker and presentation, Miriam Gazda, who was instrumental in contacting Gail to present today and is the baker of those gluten-free cakes that you found. We'll introduce Gail.
Good morning and welcome coming today. Gail Weisberg began helping people participate in democracy through campaign work through the Harold Washington campaign and continued by working in the mayor's office by organizing neighborhood forums and public events and experience that helped shape her lifelong commitment to civil involvement. Underneath the Cook County Clerk's David Orr, that's where I met her, is a supervisor role and special events, which included training for equipment managers for both early voting and election day. She developed the program for early voting and field techs also on election day. All of us workers at early voting wish to thank her for her developing and implementing our new equipment that we use today. As a member of the League in Evanston, she developed the program she will be presenting today and accomplished to place a poll watcher in every precinct in Evanston and Skokie. I want to introduce to you my mentor and personal friend, Gail Weisberg. Make sure I get you on the screen here.
Yep. Good morning. I don't have slides or pictures, just words on paper. So what I want to do is, Marianne said, I worked in the Cook County Clerk's office for about 19 years. And in all facets of the election department. And, you know, I'm one of those election nerds, like probably many of you are. Once I left there, I tried to figure out, well, what am I going to do next? And so with the Evanston League, developed the poll watcher program. So what I want to do is just talk a little bit about poll watchers and then go through guidelines. If you have questions, just raise your hand. I'm happy to answer any questions. So first, you know, what is a poll watcher? Poll watcher is an observer. Some poll watchers are from political parties.
Sorry, I'm going to
That's okay.
get rid of the rest of the screen.
Some are from political parties. Some represent a referendum, either proponent or opponent. Some are from a valid civic organization, and obviously that's who we are. There is only one poll watcher from a particular organization allowed in a polling place at one time, so that judges aren't, you know, don't have a ton. In Evanston and Skokie, we have seen very few poll watchers, but this election, there may be more. I mean, the basic thing for those of us who are poll watchers is just to observe. When I worked for the Cook County Clerk's office, I read every comment from every poll watcher or citizen or comments from judges, because I felt that people on the ground knew more than people sitting in the office. So also, you know, as somebody from Cook County, I went around to the different polling places or visited all of the early voting sites. We also provide our poll watchers with a survey. So basically it's pretty short, and poll watchers write comments. You know, I do a report afterwards and send it to Cook County with the hopes that, you know, they will see what we see on the ground and make any changes that they can make. A poll watcher must be a registered voter in Illinois. They must surrender a signed credential, and they're about this big. They're really small. And you just put your name and address on it. The the precinct that you're poll watching at, and then the organization will put the organization's name and will sign it as a representative of the organization. And that's why, we from the organization will get the credentials first, fill out anything that we need to fill out, and then get them to you, who wants to be poll watchers. In Evanston and with Evanston and Skokie, I usually assign polling places, but it's certainly not necessary. However, the league wants to do them. If you have a particular polling place that you really want to observe at, whether it's yours, a neighborhood one, I'm sure that your league will work out, the best way for you to watch at a polling place. So what poll watchers can observe? Pretty much everything. You can watch the voters checking in, instructions given to the voters, not necessarily how they vote, but them putting their either paper ballot or the ballot that comes off of the touchscreen into the scanner. You can also look around the polling place and just make sure that people, can navigate easily. Some polling places have more than one precinct in it. And, it's important for voters not to go into a polling place, stand in line for a half hour, only to be told, this is not where you go over there. Because most voters really don't know the precinct that they live in. Even though it says it on our card, a lot of times, as we know, we get so much election information, some of it doesn't cross our eyes. So you can hear voters' names and addresses as they check in. You can hear and see the instructions that election judges give to the voters. You can compare the signature on the electronic poll book. So as you know from having voted, if you live in Cook County particularly, voter comes in, signs their name, then that signature, along with the signature that they have on file in the Cook County Clerk's office, both appear on the screen, even though one of them is about that small. But big enough, as Mary Ann knows, big enough to be able to compare. You can, and we do often, ask the judges if you can stand behind them, because that's the best way to really see what's going on. And I've only known one precinct who have said to me, no, you can't stand behind me. So, in that case, I stand as close as I can to see and hear what I can. But almost all judges are very amenable to us coming in and observing, unless we're disruptive, which we're not, and we're just overly aggressive, which also we're not. And we can watch the election judge initial the ballot or initial the poll book so that the county knows that the voter has voted. You can also challenge a voter. If you know and you challenge, you raise the challenge to the election judge, not to the voter. But if you know a voter's not who they say they are, or a voter doesn't live where they say they live, then you can pose that challenge to the judges. It's not that you think that they aren't, but you actually know that they don't live there. Then the judges can ask for ID or do whatever they need to do to validate that voter. And they either accept the challenge or they don't accept the challenge. And then the voter either votes a regular ballot or votes a provisional ballot. You can also observe the election judges initialing the ballot. So if they're taking a paper ballot, they initial it right there at Station 2. We call it Station 2. And if it's the ballot, the piece of paper that comes off of the touchscreen, they initial it before the voter puts it in the scanner. The scanner actually won't take a non-initial ballot, so they would have to, it would pop out and they would initial it after the voter, after they put it in the first time. Yes.
What is a provisional ballot?
A provisional ballot is if someone, I'm trying to think of the reasons. That there's an issue with the voter and they can't rectify it at the polling place, then they vote a provisional ballot.
So like some of those tax paper.
And then they check it. They have 2 weeks to check it down at the office and they validate it.
So it would
Yes.
be, it might occur if there's a question regarding whether or not they have voted by mail and then showed up at the poll, or if there is some kind of question about whether or not they've already voted in some other manner.
Correct. Yes.
If a person registers day of the election, does their vote go into, is that a provisional ballot or not?
No, if they register the day of election, they're presenting 2 IDs. And the judges check both of their IDs, enter it into the polling place, as well as any naturalization information if they need to. And then they can vote a regular ballot. What a poll watcher can't do is go into the polling place without a credential. So if someone walks in and they don't have the credential, the judges say, please leave. If they're a member of the media, they usually have media credentials. If they're a member of Cook County staff, they usually have Cook County credentials. They've got some sort of credential, which really takes us to the point of anyone from a security position, anyone from ICE, even the police. They cannot come into the polling place unless requested by the judges and authorized by Cook County. So we don't know that that's going to be an issue this election, but we're going to be prepared for it in case it is. So poll watchers, if you notice that there's something wrong going on, you can certainly alert the judges. And, in a non-disruptive, you're not interrupting voting. If you see something going on outside the polling place in terms of people passing out literature or harassing voters as they try to enter, you can definitely let the judges know. What you can't do is instruct the judges within the polling place or 100 feet from the polling place, which is electioneering. You can't wear anything, colors or symbols or, whatever representing a party or referendum or, that aligns you with somebody on the ballot or something on the ballot. And we suggest even that league members don't wear your league badge. Although when we walk in, we say we're from the league because we're always asked. But it's just another, if there's somebody who has a position that the league is partisan and this way or that way, we don't want to start any kind of battle inside the polling place. We can't touch anything. We can look at everything, but we can't touch any of the official materials. We can definitely ask lots of questions. We can watch a voter receiving lawful assistance, but we can't, really stand behind them and watch them vote. Although, if we hear somebody telling somebody else how to vote, we can alert the judges and let them deal with that issue.
I have a question, Bill.
Yes,
Can you take a picture?
You cannot.
Okay, nobody can take a picture in the.
Correct. If the media wants to take pictures, they need to ask the judges.
The media, the only group that can take a picture.
Yes. Yes.
About challenging voters.
Mhm.
So you said that if a challenge is brought up, that then it's asked of the voter to present identification. So Illinois is not a voter ID state.
Correct.
So is there a concern that that particular point gets abused by poll watchers to just willy-nilly require people to show IDs?
Well, if you happen to be in a polling place and you see a judge continuously asking people for ID, that's an issue. But in terms of someone challenging a voter, and not challenging every single voter in front of them, then it's not really an issue. Then it's just the judges having to make a determination the best way they can. If it's asking for ID or something else, then that's what they do. Mary Ann?
Expand on that, when we do it for voting, you basically don't ask to see the ID, we're requesting your driver's license or the thing you received from the county, because of that, we can scan the back of the card. That's all we're doing in order to pull up our the information on you. So we're not really asking you for a voter ID.
But we have seen some judges ask for ID continuously, and we have to remind them exactly what you said, that in Illinois, you don't ask for ID.
Is there a chief judge and, in others who can just go up to that individual judge, or is there somebody we actually talk to that talks to the judge?
There's not a chief judge. Polling places have what we call polling place technicians, which are just more experienced with the equipment, but there's no chief judge. In early voting, we have point people. And so if there's, something going on that needs to reach another level, you would go to a point person. But on election day, everybody's equal. Even if you're a student judge, you've all got the same responsibilities, getting the same pay. So there's not a more knowledgeable person except the equipment.
Sounds like any of our interaction that we have would only be with the judges, not with the voters.
Correct. Correct. Yes. Oh, sorry.
Is there more than one judge at the polling place?
Yes, there are a minimum of 3, but usually the county tries to get 5.
And does the judge sit next to the person that's checking the voter in to verify the
So usually it's set up with like 2 tables, and 2 judges will be at the first table with the electronic poll book. At the next table will be the paper ballots and whatever else, maybe and then the 5th judge will be by the machines to help anybody who needs help, or they just wander around to help anybody at the scanner if they need help with the scanner. Yes. There are judges from each political party, and the county determines which party has the majority by looking at the last gubernatorial election. So 2 years ago, the election, if the majority of voters voted Republican, say, then the majority of judges, they would have 3 judges and 2 from the other party. If it was a majority who voted Democratic, then it would be 3 Democratic judges and 2 Republican judges. So they do that every 2 years. Specific to the precinct. Yes. Yes.
You probably do a vote by mail,
Mhm.
because I did election judge too, and it's not that you say your party is Democratic, you just pick up, it's just randomly assigned that you would be a Democrat or a Republican as an election judge.
No, it's not.
Oh, it's not.
No.
It seemed that way when I did it.
No, and actually, the parties want to know the voting history of oftentimes of the judges. And people identify themselves as Democrat or Republican, and that's how they're assigned, as a Democratic judge or Republican. Now, there might be some precincts where you don't have enough of one party. And so somebody will be asked to take, and it usually, we used to have badges that were separated by party. And after the last election, or 2 elections ago, those badges got changed because there was a lot of problems with voters identifying people by party and being very upset that there was this party or that party. And the county just wanted to make it so that voters wouldn't know who was from which party. But the parties want to know. Yes.
Someone who is like an independent voter, would they just look back at their history and choose whichever party they voted for more? Or do they just get to choose their, like, whatever they happen to feel like that?
The person who's becoming a judge can identify themselves any way they want. But if they're an independent, then the county will probably ask you if you would be a Democrat judge or be a Republican judge. Yes.
As a poll watcher, are you allowed to put a yard sign in front of your house for specific candidates?
Yes.
And election judges have to read them also.
I'm pretty sure they do. Yeah. You know, when you step into your position as a poll watcher or an election judge, you're sort of putting on a new persona, a nonpartisan persona. Yes.
Judged in a long time, but I did it the last election. And it was interesting because the badge that we had, you didn't put your name on it.
Right.
It was, you chose a letter of the alphabet.
Yep.
Which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
For anonymity, yeah.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And that,
Hannah said, I'm not sure that we're picking up all the questions.
oh, I'm sorry. That go on the last couple of elections, when the badge was changed, judges no longer put their name on the badge. They just circle a letter. And that's for anonymity purposes. Again, because I guess it was starting the 2020 election when there was so much turmoil after the election is when the county decided to change how they did things so that voters wouldn't be able to identify anybody by party or name, so they wouldn't feel threatened either in the polling place or outside the polling place. Yes.
When we say that the election judges are Republican or Democratic, the county doesn't know how you voted. They know which ballot you've chosen during a primary. That's the
Right.
only way, that's the only record of which party you're at, because we don't really register in Illinois.
Correct.
Unlike some states, you have to register with a party or you and I mean, here we really don't.
Right.
But we do have the primary election information.
Correct. And that, yes, that is the only way by how somebody voted in the primary. Doesn't necessarily mean that you feel that you're that party. You just chose that party ballot because that's how you wanted to vote during that particular primary. Yes.
What's a result tape, and if we were requesting the jury for the result?
A result tape is this. And that has every single person, every single candidate, every single referendum, and the number of votes. There's really, in the past, the way past, we used to get these at the end of the day and turn them in to somebody, whoever we wanted to turn them into. But now it's just for yourself. If you want a copy of it, then you can take a copy of it. But that's what it is, and it's pretty, well, this was from the primary. The general election one will be a little less long. Yeah, I decided to bring this just in case we had questions.
How do they capture write-in candidates?
They actually do. They have the signature, I mean, not the signature, but the name, the handwriting, the name of the person that they wrote in with a check mark next to it. Yeah, the machinery can do that these days. In the polling place, there can be, of course, election judges, poll watchers who are certified, people coming to assist a voter. And there's no age group. Somebody can bring their, 10-year-old grandchild to come in and assist the voter. Anybody from the clerk's office, state's attorney, US attorney, and the media. Again, law enforcement cannot be in the polling place except requested by the judge. And that includes, whether it's a local official or somebody from ICE. Yes. If they're in the polling place, they don't, but if somebody who's not certified or who's not requested to be in the polling place definitely has to be 100 feet out. But if there's some kind of altercation in the polling place and the judges call the Cook County Clerk's office and the legal department sends a sheriff, then they can come into the polling place. Because they have to be there, but they can't stay there. They can't sit there. They can't watch anybody.
Is there some kind of how do we know how far that is?
The county gives the judges a piece of string that's 100 feet long. Literally, because there used to be some people would say this is not 100 feet, and somebody would step and step and step, and your feet are bigger than my feet, and so we literally, and then provide blue chalk or blue tape, and the judges draw a line. And they do it from every angle, every door, to every doorway. But yeah, and for the last election, it was icy and rainy and snowy in certain places. They had to keep going out and drawing a line, although there were very few people passing out anything. But yeah, that's exactly what they do. Right.
Local police.
You don't call local police.
If you're a judge, I mean, as even an election judge, do they ever call the local, or is it always Cook County?
They would always call Cook County.
Okay.
And Cook County has a legal department, and there are state's attorneys that also roam, but again, they're going to have ID, so you're going to know they're from the state's attorney's office, and the state's attorney will usually have a sheriff with them. But it's not like they're being sent from downtown. They're in the area. So let's move on to the guidelines, which are not exact, but it's how, I started approaching being a poll watcher. So it's just in general, sort of a day by day, hour by hour guidelines. So the voters usually come first thing in the morning, noontime, less at noon, but noontime, and then after work. So as a poll watcher, you probably want to go during those periods of times to see the most voters. However, if you're poll watching at a lot of precincts, you may not be able to get there. It may happen to be 10:30 in the morning or 3:30 in the afternoon that you're at the polling place. And, you know, you'll probably be able to see a voter or two at any time during the day. Before entering the polling place, complete your credentials so that you can immediately hand them in. And what we say is as you're traveling around the polling place, you know, look for ice. We've never had to say that before, but just keep your eyes open to anything that you see around. And we provide phone numbers to the Election Protection Hotline and to the Cook County Legal Department. And even if you're suspicious and not sure, we suggest calling and letting the county know, letting the, you know, the people out there who have more resources to be able to, you know, drive around the area and see what's going on. We didn't see anything in the primary in Evanston, Skokie. My feeling is if they're coming in the city of Chicago. They're coming to the areas where it's majority, either majority minority or Hispanic. But we want to be aware wherever we are. As you're approaching the polling place, check if there's accessibility parking and if people have disability placards that are parking in those spaces. I mean, usually a place does not have very many disability spaces, so we just want to make sure that they're available for people who need them.
What do you do if they don't? What if they don't have a placard?
You can alert the judges.
Okay.
And the judges can make an announcement if you're parked, you know, then please move your car. As you're approaching the building, look for the flag, make sure it's visible, because that tells people right off that it's a polling place. And then make sure there's a sign on the door that tells the voter this is the polling place. If the main door isn't accessible, there are signs to direct the voters to an alternate entrance. I believe that just about all the sites are accessible in Cook County, even if it's not at the main entrance, it might be around the side. Check the campaign free zone. So you're going to look for that blue line and make sure everybody's on the other side of it. And just, you know, stand around for a couple of minutes and make sure that there's nobody harassing voters. Generally speaking, people passing out literature are just doing that, passing out literature. But there was one election in Evanston. It was a local election and it was pretty heated, and some of the candidates were overstepping their bounds. You know, they were trying to walk voters in and talk to them, and it was a little bit, you know, stay in your lane. And then, of course, if the main entrance isn't accessible, walk around to the side entrance that is accessible and make sure it's easily accessible to somebody with mobility issues, whether it's a wheelchair or a walker or a cane. Just make sure that they can get to the polling place, to the room pretty easily. Once you get in the polling place, you're going to hand your credential and introduce yourself to the election judges. Ask whether there's a polling place technician. Sometimes there's not because there isn't enough. But just to, you know, for yourself and for us to know that the polling place has someone in case a machine experiences some problems. Walk through the polling place. I mean, sometimes they're pretty small. You don't have to walk much, but you can just look and, you know, sort of assess the layout, is it set up for privacy? Is it set up so that a voter goes in, knows where they have to check in, knows which booth they vote in, knows which scanner they put their ballot in, because of course, if they put their ballot in the wrong scanner, the count is going to be off at the end of the night. But it's going to be off for 2 precincts. One's going to have 1 more ballot and one's going to have 1 less ballot. There are very few of those, but it happens. Check that the voting supply carrier, which is a huge gray box, that it's set up so that, again, for voter privacy, because this gray box is where the touch screens are. There's one that's a little bit lower, so people, who want to sit and vote can vote. One that's a little bit higher. The scanner is also in that box, in that big gray box. So just make sure that everything's working. Are the touchscreens working, the electronic poll book's working, the scanner's working? If not, the judges have already called their particular number, and there's probably a judge on the way either to fix or to replace. And then you're going to, observe the judges checking people in, whether it's a new voter, and that voter again needs 2 IDs, whether it's just a regular voter. And the electronic poll books are very smart because they'll alert every issue. If the voter has received a mail ballot, the screen will tell them. If they voted a mail ballot, the screen will tell them. And in that case, if somebody says, I didn't vote, that would be, 1 instance of the provisional ballot. If they voted early, the screen will say that. There are all kinds of instances. If they voted, if they registered on the mail-in form and they only provided 1 ID or no ID at that point, then the screen will tell them you need to ask for ID because that voter hadn't provided ID when they registered. So there are all kinds of scenarios, and the screen will tell the judges what to ask for in every single scenario. If somebody wants to be assisted, whether it's language or disability, then the person doing the assisting has to sign the electronic poll book, or if it's a judge, then both judges sign the electronic poll book saying that they assisted. Again, it's a very good system that Cook County has worked out. So the judges don't have to do a lot of, well, do we do this or do we do that or do we do that? The screen tells us what to do. Just confirm that the voter received the correct ballot. As you're standing there, if a voter questions, oh, I was supposed to vote for this person and that's not on my ballot. Well, as we know, sometimes there are ads on TV and people think they're supposed to vote for that person, but they're not in that district. The judges can make sure that they did receive the correct ballot. There are instances that we call split precincts, where a precinct is split almost down the middle. So this half of the precinct votes for, Congressman A, this half of the district votes for Congressman B. And if they're handing out a paper ballot, we need to make sure that that person getting the paper ballot gets the correct ballot. If they're activating a card on the touch screen, then that issue is eliminated because the touch screen or, the electronic poll book will activate the correct activation card. And we're always maintaining a cooperative and non-confrontational position with the judges. We're really there to observe. We're not there to harass, intimidate. We just want to make sure everything is going for the benefit of the voters. And if you're there during closing, like we said, you can ask for one of these. They're interesting. And closing is interesting. You know, a lot of times, at the end of the day, we don't want to be out at 7 o'clock at night watching a precinct close. But a setup is interesting, as is closing, you know, to see all of the steps the judges need to do. They need to, you know, produce a statement of ballots. They need to get all of the paperwork that gets turned in at what's called a receiving station together. They need to put everything back in the boxes because the boxes get picked up. So it's just a very interesting process. Some people do it within an hour and other people do it where it takes much longer. I've been to both places.
Do they deliver the mail-in ballots to the precinct, or is?
They do not deliver the mail-in ballots to the precinct. Right, that's old school. Early voting, there are drop boxes where people can put their mail ballot into a drop box, and then the judges there have a whole procedure about dealing with the mail ballots. But at the polling place, no, they go directly from the post office to the county. But people do actually, voters sometimes come to a polling place with their ballot thinking they can drop it off, which sometimes becomes a problem because, in fact, they can't. And if it's the last day, we either direct them to the post office and say, get it stamped with today's date on it, or they can go to one of the vote centers, which are all the courthouses, and they can drop it off in the drop-in ballot, in the drop-in box at the vote center.
If they come in and it's late, because these close at 7 on voting day, the judge could vote out the mail-in and then the person could vote a provisional?
Yes, if they come in with their ballot at any time of the day, but close to 7 o'clock, yes, they can surrender that ballot to the polling place and the judge would write surrendered on it. They would put it in one of their envelopes and then the voter could vote in person on election day. Absolutely. They would vote a regular ballot. Because we know we have the physical ballot in our hand, we know they haven't voted twice. Yeah, good point. Yes.
I actually don't know what the rule is, like, if people are waiting in line outside and it's like 7 and there's like 40 people in line, like, what happens with that? Is there anything that poll watchers should be aware of in regards to, like, do people get to vote? Is there a cutoff? Like, what happens?
So the cutoff is 7 o'clock, but anybody in line at 7 o'clock can vote.
Okay.
So the judges will send one of their own to say, you know, polls closed, but this is the last person in line. Anybody who comes in after this person can't vote, but everybody else can vote. Other questions? Being a poll watcher is fun. I love it. I mean, you know, if you like seeing the process, and making sure that everything is fair, and everything runs smoothly, it's a great day from 6 o'clock in the morning or whenever you go out. If you want to be at closing, be inside the precinct at 6:30 at night. If you want to go there for setup, then get there by 5:30 in the morning. Exactly. Yes,
How is it determined where you go?
that's going to be determined by your league.
Oh.
Your league will set that up and let everybody who wants to become a poll watcher, you know, you all will figure it out. Yes.
What happens afterwards?
after the poll watchers, they turn in their, I don't know, evaluation, what happens afterwards?
So what I do is I take everybody's surveys and I compile a report. And I send the report to our league, the county league, and the Cook County Clerk's office. And from there, my hope is that people will read it and follow up on it. You know, I still know some people in the Cook County Clerk's office, so I'll call them and talk to them.
Appreciate the information.
Yeah,
I just have clarification I wanted to ask you from your guidelines.
sure.
So one is, my polling place I know has more than one precinct in it. There's 2 or 3, I think. So you're saying I would need my little credential, one filled out for each of those precincts, just because I'm in that room and I can observe all of them?
Correct. And you'll give each particular precinct, the credential for each precinct to that set of judges.
And they take the credential.
And they
and
take the
they'll have
credential.
it, And if you want to leave and have lunch and come back.
Yes.
You don't have to turn in another set of credentials
Correct.
unless you're at early voting, is my understanding.
Right, in early voting, you need a credential every single day.
The other thing was, you did have on these guidelines, we have the Cook County, or no, the election protection hotline
Uh-huh.
is on there. Someone just suggested to me, if you're going that day, just put it in your phone,
Mhm.
so you have it.
Yep,
And also, though, I assume you would really talk to the judge first, unless it was an emergency that you needed to contact this emergency hotline. You would try to, if there was an issue where you were concerned about, you try to talk to the judge first.
yes,
Unless, like you say, if it was an ice emergency or something,
right,
then you might want to let them know.
right. If you're on the road and you see something going on, then you'd call. But if you're in or close to the polling place, absolutely, I would let the judges know first and they can make the phone call.
And I guess just from listening, you don't realize that actually other police organizations like the sheriff or something in some locations might be just kind of hovering around outside,
Mhm.
causing some intimidation for voters. The voter doesn't know that they're not supposed to be there maybe, and you might have some people that are concerned about the sheriff right now. And they're just not supposed to be hovering around and just watching people go in and
Right.
out. So just something that we might not be thinking about, because doesn't happen to us very often.
I just want to
Absolutely.
interject one thing. I basically call the sheriff when everybody outside is not behaving. Okay, so it basically, they're there because I don't like people that are outside that basically run towards a car. For 4 or 5, 6 candidates, surround the car, scare the people to death, and all the rest of that's intimidation.
Yeah.
So I would call the sheriff. All right, I've done that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Election judge.
Yes, an election judge. I'm an election judge. Okay. Right.
Okay, I think I'm gonna just stop the recording right now. Thank you, and thank you very much, Gail, for
You're
letting
welcome.
us record this.
Don't leave it.